friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. I'm so glad you're joining me today. I am making a diagonal fold card, a fancy fold card, and I am excited about this because I haven't made a fancy fold card in a while, and I wanted to make something other than just a plain A2 card today. So I'm going to use the Hedgehog Hollow kit that I got for February. I've only made a couple of cards with it. I want to play with it some more. So I pulled out this Pretty Petals stamp set. This is almost like a Build-A-Flower, and I have the Welcome Spring stamp set, and I know I definitely want to use the Hello Sunshine sentiment in this kit. I love the big graphic flower that I'm going to kind of build, and I am going to pull out 2 pieces of the pattern paper. I really like a lot of the pattern papers in this particular pattern paper set because I love all the ladybugs and bugs, and I love the florals. The color combination is just so much fun, and I just really want to play with it. So I definitely know I love these polka dots. So I decided I would use one of the red and pink and black ladybug pages and one of the green dots, so that I'll get a combination of those colors, and I'm pretty happy with that. So there's so many different papers that I could play with, really, and it's actually hard to decide. So I have pulled out all the things that I need. So you need 2 pieces of pattern paper, and you need 1 piece of white cardstock and 1 piece of colorful cardstock. I'm using this bright pink because it coordinates with my paper, and plus I just love that bright pink with that yellowy green color. I also pulled out some scrap white pieces and some scrap pink pieces that I have in my scrap bin, and that's what I'm going to use to put this card together. So I'm going to start out with the cutting, and I, by the way, also have out some inks. I've got some gray fog, I've got Cotswold green, Tiptree jam, Flamingo, and bubblegum. I also will pull out my Eclipse black ink. These are, of course, my color Hive inks from Maker Forte, and I love them. I just got the Cotswold green color. They come out with 3 new colors every month, and that Cotswold green color is my new favorite green color. I say that every time they come out with a new green, but it's true. So I'm starting out. I need to score my papers and cut my papers. So I trimmed down this pink sheet to 8 by 11. So I trimmed off a 1/2 inch in the width, and then I scored it at 4 inches. So I actually cut off a 1/2 inch, so I have a piece of paper that's 8 by 11. Now I scored it at 4 inches, and then I turned it and scored it at 5.5 inches. So basically, I'm scoring it into 4 pieces that are 4 by 5.5. That's what I'm doing. So now I need to make my diagonal cut. And to do this, the easiest way to do this is to turn your paper in your trimmer so that the upper left-hand corner is right in the well of your trimmer. And I'll see if I can get a little bit closer so you can see this. So you want that very corner to go right in the cutting well. And then you want the bottom corner to go right into the cutting well on the other end. So I want to really center that right in the well where the trimming blade is just going to go straight through. So then I'm going to cut from the top left-hand corner to the bottom right-hand corner. And this is actually going to give me my 2 card bases. So I'm actually going to remove the trimmer blade. I just got this trimmer, and it trims and it scores. So I'm removing the scoring blade because it takes up a little room, and I was thinking that if I could remove it, then maybe I will actually be able to cut from corner to corner here. And it doesn't quite cut from corner to corner, so I end up like snipping each of the corners with my little cutter bug or cutter bee scissors. So it did a pretty good job, but it didn't get all the way in the corner. So I'll just snip the corners. It actually showed me where, it cut a little bit, but it didn't cut all the way through. So I just need to snip it all the way through there. So I love that this is a 2-for-1 card making session, because I love when I can make 2 cards for the effort of 1. And that's exactly what's going to happen here today. So I'm going to actually have 2 cards, and I love that they're both going to be the fancy folds, because I haven't done that in a while. So I'll just put my trimmer back together so I don't lose any bits, especially since it's brand new. I definitely want to make sure I take care of it. So I'm going to fold and score these pieces, and you can see you take that bottom triangle and score it and fold it in toward the center of the card, and you want the tips of the card, the diagonal part, to actually meet in the bottom right hand corner there. You really want those to meet. So I'll just give those a good fold with my bone folder, and I'll do the same thing to the other card base. Both of them will be exactly the same. So I'm going to do the rest of my cutting, and then I'll do my stamping. So I have the white sheet, and I need 4 pieces cut at 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. So I need 3 3/4 wide. So I'll cut 2 lengths of this cardstock 3 3/4 wide, and I'm just checking to make sure I did in fact cut that at 3 3/4. So I'm going to do that to the second sheet, and then I'll cut them to 5 1/4. So I end up with 4 pieces altogether that are cut 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. And this extra piece I will actually go ahead and save for sentiments, or little things that I need to, little pieces that I can die cut or stamp on a small piece of white. So I'm just finishing up this, and then I can go forward with cutting the diagonal pieces of the pattern paper and the white cardstock. So 2 of those pieces of white cardstock are actually going to go on the inside of my card, and then the 2 other pieces will be cut diagonally. So for the patterned paper, I need these cut at 3 1/2 by 5. So I'm going to trim this down to 3 1/2, and then I'll turn the piece that I cut down and trim it to 5 inches. And I'll go ahead and do that to the other piece, and I can cut them both diagonally. Just like I did the larger piece, I can cut these diagonally, so that the corners, I go from the left-hand top corner to the bottom right-hand corner. And this will work out nicely because it'll fit perfectly, and I can use the green polka dots for the bottom part of the card, and these sweet little red ladybugs, red and pink ladybugs, for the top right hand of my card. Now, it doesn't matter because my paper is not directional. So just showing you here, the patterns are not directional. Like, by directional, I mean all the images are pointing in the same way, so there is a top and a bottom to your pattern. Mine are not like that. So again, I'm just cutting this at 3 1/2 by 5 inches, and I don't have to worry about which way I'm cutting it or which way I'm actually doing the diagonal, because my papers are not directional. So the patterns, like, it doesn't matter which way this polka dot goes, and it doesn't matter which way those ladybugs go, because they're facing in all different directions in the pattern of the paper, which I really like, because it makes it easier to create the card if I don't have to pay really close attention to how I'm cutting it so it fits where I need it to fit. And then I can put it all together. So I'm just checking it out just to make sure. Now I need to take 2 of those white pieces and just cut those diagonally as well. So the white pieces were cut at 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. The pattern paper was cut at 3 1/2 by 5. So the pattern paper is slightly smaller than the white pieces, and the white diagonal pieces are slightly smaller than the diagonal bits on the card base. And that works out nicely because then I get lots of borders. I get a nice pink border around my white pieces, and then I get a nice white border around my pattern paper pieces. So now I can go ahead and build my cards, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just trying to fix this one, didn't quite line up in the corner there, so I'll play with that with my bone folder a little bit more. And I'm going to go ahead and just put my white piece down. I'm using liquid glue, and I really like the little glue tubes because they squeeze nicely. So I'm really comfortable with those. Like, they work well. My hands are pretty sore, so that glue works really well for me for that reason. So I've got the back put in. Now I can actually add my diagonals. And my recommendation is to put your diagonal piece, put that white piece down on the pink piece to make sure you actually put the glue on the correct side. One very easy mistake is to put the glue on the wrong side. And I noticed that I did the same thing with this green polka dot. I put it down to make sure I was holding it correctly. And then I picked it up, flipped it over, and put the glue on the back. I'm going to fit every single piece. That is a step I'm not going to skip because too many times I've made the mistake of putting the glue on the wrong side, and then you have to recut paper. So I don't want to do that. So I'm being careful. And I always have my adhesive eraser nearby. So I'm pulling that pretty pattern with the ladybugs out. And I love not having to worry about directional paper. So there you go. You can see it opens nicely. I'll go ahead and do the same thing to the second card base and get that all put together, and then I'm going to do my stamping. So I need 2 centers. So I'm using one of the center patterns, and I just re-inked my fog ink. I'm using a light gray ink called Fog for the Maker Forte inks, and I just re-inked it, and it's actually I feel like I put a tiny bit too much ink on, but I'm not going to worry about it because my sentiment is going to go over the top of this. So I did the flower centers in the light fog, light gray color, and I'm using my Eclipse black ink for my sentiment, and I really like that. That Hello Sunshine fits in there perfectly. And when I went to cut those out, by the way, I used a 1 1/2 inch circle punch to cut out my center pieces, and it gave me a nice little white border around the edge. If you don't want a white border, you would need to cut that out with probably 1 1/4 inch or even a 1 inch circle punch. You'd have to test that out. But I thought it worked out really well. So I stamped a bunch of these. I stamped 8 of these. And that's in the Cotswold green. I'm loving that color. So pretty. I love a yellow green for flowers, for the leaves. So I picked 2 different petal patterns and decided I needed 5 of these petals for each flower. So I used this one, and I'm going to just do 1 pattern of petal on each flower. And the flowers are going to go over the top of my diagonal fold. I'll glue it to the bottom diagonal fold, but not the top, so that I can open them. And that'll serve as my sentiment and focal image for my card. But I decided that with all the pattern paper, I have enough pattern on there really. I probably should have just done plain, because there's a solid petal also, which I'm going to use in a minute. I took the solid petal. That ink I used for the patterns, by the way, was Flamingo. Now I'm using bubblegum to kind of fill in, and I stamped it multiple times. I did 4 stampings of the bubblegum because I wanted it a little darker on this, and I only did 2 stampings of the bubblegum on each petal for the wavy line ones. I love that pattern. So I got those will look a little bit lighter than these, and I'm using the same color inks for them. It's just that I'm stamping it multiple times with the light pink ink and getting it darker on this particular one, and I'll stamp it twice on the other one, and it'll be slightly lighter. Then I'll go ahead and cut these out. Now I'm going to throw these on my brother's Scan and Cut to cut them out. Otherwise, I would have to fussy cut these. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them out and get them all ready to go. And then it's just a matter of building my flower. Like, this is a super fun stamp set because you can build your own flower. And you could use multiple patterns if you wanted to. If you know, that's whatever. So I flipped over the sentiments that I cut out and put one piece of foam on the back in the center so that I could use liquid glue to glue the petals underneath. And I did try it out like this with mixing the patterns, but it wasn't going to go. I would need to put 6 petals on, and I only made 5 for each. So if you want to do every other one a different pattern, then you will need 6 petals, and you will overlap them slightly. Mine aren't going to overlap at all. Now when you glue these on, you can curl them up a little bit if you want to, and I definitely like mine curled a little bit. And I'll do the same thing with the leaves. So I just put a little glue at the top. Notice that I actually have a white circle below that. That white circle I just cut from white scrap. It's a 2-inch circle. I used a 2-inch circle punch. If you don't have circle punches, you probably have circle dies. So use something like that. And you can see a little bit of that white through there. So I decided to put those leaves, just to pop them under the petals on top of that white and add with a little bit of liquid glue. And I only made 8 leaves, so for this one I put a leaf between each pair of petals. So I put 5 on this one, and that left me 3 for the second one, and I just really kind of like the way they turned out. So here's the second one, and I just think these big graphic flowers are so cute with the ladybugs and the polka dots in the back. I just put glue on one side. I wanted to add glue to the bottom part so that I could stick it just to that polka dot, and you can see that way I can open it and it closes nicely. And these do actually stand up, believe it or not. Like if you want to stand them on a table, you can stand them on a table. So to finish them off, I decided I would pull out some more pink cardstock here, and I did pull out a die because my 2-inch punch is only going to cover that white circle in the back, but the dies are really kind of big, so I decided that I would go ahead and use that 2-inch punch. I just want to cover up the back a little bit, so I'm just going to glue that 2-inch circle there, and then it just looks like a white and pink flower on the back, and it's much tidier. So I like that better. Now you can go ahead and stamp. There's a little ladybug stamp you can stamp on the inside. There are more sentiments you can add to the inside. And, so there are things you can stamp on the inside if you want to. I did pull out some pink crown jewel gems. I believe these are the rah-rah skirts. These are the neon rah-rah skirt crown jewel gems. And I'm going to put 3 on the center of each petal. I just feel like no card is complete without a little bit of bling, and the crown jewel gems are my favorite bling, really. I just am excited that gems are coming back to card making. For so long it's been sequins, and I really love the gems and the pearls. So I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid glue here, and the tip of this glue tube is not as tiny as my usual glue when I'm putting on crown jewel gems, so I do dab up the excess here with my microfiber cloth, and that is going to finish off the cards. I'll put all the links below. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel while you're here. Have a wonderful day, friends.